This video is sponsored by the Breastforms store.
Hey folks, I'm going to do something I have not done in a long time, which is a good old-fashioned how-to video. Now, I used to do these more regularly back when I was identifying as a cross-dresser, but I thought it was time to talk about something that I never got around to covering, partially because it only kind of applied to me at the time. But we're going to talk about how to measure yourself for a bra. Now, interestingly, at this point, I actually don't wear them all that often, but sometimes I do, and if you're going to get them, you kind of need to know how to measure yourself for them. Now, honestly, in a completely ideal situation, you would be going to some place where you could get measured by a professional. Various places that specialize in undergarments for people with breasts. They should have somebody on hand who can help you with that. But if you either don't have that resource available or if you're not comfortable doing it, here's how you can do it at home. Now, first thing is, this is not the ideal garment. Actually, ideally, you wouldn't be in a garment at all. You'd do it nude, but I won't be doing that on this particular platform. But I think something a little tighter would be more appropriate. There we go. Now, there are two measurements you're going to need to take, and you need a tape measure. And I don't mean the kind that carpenters use, not the stiff ones that come out of the thing. I mean something like this. These are very easy to get. You go to, honestly, you could probably go to most local pharmacies, anywhere where there's, just even if there's a basic sewing kit, anywhere, just in a home goods department, it's going to have something like this in it. So, as I said, there are two measurements you are going to need to take. You're going to need to take what is your band measurement, which you're going to do underneath your actual breasts. And this is important. Do not hold this as tight as it can go, because that is going to give you a measurement that ends up restricting your ability to get a full breath. So you want to set it not really loose, but be sure that when you breathe, it's not loosening it further than you are. And that's going to put me at 44 inches. Now, if you end up on an odd number, round it up to the next even, because that's pretty much how all bras, at least in America, are measured. That's probably worth pointing out. I am going by how things usually work in America. There is the weirdness that some brands handle it different than others, but that is unfortunately a little bit of a case-by-case thing. Next, we need to figure out the cup size. And for that, we are going to measure across the largest portion of the breasts themselves. And that generally means across the nipple. So let's see. Again, don't want to pull it too tight. And that's going to put me at 48. So I have a 4-inch difference between my band and my bust. Now, that difference, that's what indicates your cup size. And it is very important that you know that those specific measurements, because depending on the specific brand and what the band measurement is, cup size can be a little inconsistent. If you go to the website or, as I said, work with someone in person, but if you go to a website of any place that is selling bras, they should have a calculator to help you figure out with their product the best size to go with based off those two measurements, because you might end up with something slightly different if you go to one site versus another. Usually not massively different, but a little different. And I did test that out.
I went to 3 different sites and got slightly different results at each one. I got slightly different guidance from Victoria's Secret, from Bare Necessities, and also from the Breastforms store, although I'm going to spend some time and highlight that last one. Now, with their metric for figuring out the band size, my bandwidth would be a 46 bra band. Whereas for comparison, the Victoria's Secret would have had me at a 42. And since on the Breastforms store you can also buy Breastforms to go into the bra, it's not so much basing a cup size off of your existing measurement. If you know the general sense of what you want the cup to look like, and they have this chart which will give you an idea of the general effect of different cup sizes. And that having been said, you will still need the measurement across your actual chest and that difference, whether it is an inch, less than an inch, 1 to 2 inches, etc., because that will affect what you want the backing of your breast form to be, whether you want it to have an indent or to be flat. Because if you do have some degree of difference in terms of the underbust measurement and the across the bust measurement, then you're going to want a slight indent, where if it's basically flat, you can get a flat backed breast form. So it is very important to go by whatever guidelines from the specific place you're buying. And as I said, Breastform Store has great resources. But from here on, I am going to go back into talking some general rules of thumb to go by if you don't have a specific store in mind.
But general rule of thumb with what I just measured is that for every full inch difference, that is a cup size. So for me, 4-inch difference means a D cup. Now, that may not actually be what you want to go with. That is, again, a rule of thumb. I actually kind of recommend once you get, even aside from, using the calculators for specific brands, but once you get your measurements and you have a sense of what it will roughly be in most cases with more generic brands, buy something cheap and just try that out. Basically, do a cheap test run if you are able and can afford to do it, just with like the cheapest, most basic thing. And the main reason for that is to get a sense of, okay, does the fullness of my breast work in that cup size? Because I actually don't wear a D cup. I generally wear a C or even sometimes a B cup, because while my breasts have filled out, the extent to which a D cup assumes they've filled out is a little bit more than I'm actually able to fill. So a D cup feels a little loose on me. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Now, the thing is, as I said, back in the day, I was making advice for cross-dressers, which generally don't have too much breast tissue of their own to have to worry about. Instead, they're going to be using Breastforms. And since I know that some of my audience either isn't on hormones, doesn't intend to go on hormones, or what have you, let's talk about how to measure if you don't have breasts of your own, but you intend to use Breastforms. So, now I get to talk about this thing. This is my chest binder, which I have for cosplay purposes when I feel like doing a more masculine character like the Doctor from Doctor Who, or just want to be a little more gender bendy, but this will at least approximate a flatter chest on me. So, you would still measure your band the exact same way, but to get a sense of what kind of size you would need to hold Breastforms in, I'm going to be using these because these don't have excessively visible nipples, so hopefully YouTube won't get weird about it. Now, this is a triangular style Breastform, which is just an easier way to try and demonstrate. Now, honestly, ideally, you'd have some help with this, because even if you can't get or aren't comfortable getting a professional to help you, if you can get a friend, any friend, to give you assistance in doing this, it's going to make things a lot easier. As you can see, as I kind of go through a little bit of an awkward motion here to get this. There we go. So in the case here, this actually ends up being a little bit smaller than my own. That comes in at 47, which would make these best fit for a C cup. Now, obviously, if you have different Breastforms at different sizes, you are probably going to need a different bra for each of them. Now, you can get bras that are specifically built for Breastforms, and of course, Breastforms themselves you can get in a variety of places, but may I advise directing you to this video's sponsor, the Breastforms Store.
The Breastform Store is an amazing resource with all kinds of products for cross-dressers, transgender people, performers, or whoever might have need of anything to help reshape or enhance certain aspects of their body. From a wide selection of Breastforms to bras designed specifically to hold those forms in place in the most flattering way, to various other enhancements such as hip or butt pads, wigs, shapewear, cleaning supplies, and more. And if you use the affiliate link down in the description or the coupon code VERA10 at checkout, you can save 10% and also help out me and this channel.
So there we have it. I hope this was helpful for people. I haven't done a how-to video in quite a while, but I hope this was helpful, informative, entertaining, whatever it might have been. Thank you again to the Breastform Store for sponsoring this video. I hope you'll check out their store and make use of the coupon code VERA10 if you do. And there's links down in the description for other stuff that I do if you want to follow me in other places. So thank you so much for tuning in, and please remember, you are beautiful, you are valid, and you are loved.